Hi, my name is Neil Sandler. Today we're here with John Palatiello, well known for his work in legislative affairs for the geospatial profession. John's firm, John Palatiello Associates, recently signed the National Society of Professional Surveyors as a new client. And he's here to tell us a little bit about this new relationship. To anyone who's been around, involved with the National Society of Professional Surveyors for the past few years, John, your name rings a bell. How so?
Well, Neil, I had the honor of being the first Government Affairs Director of ACSM back in 1982. I was hired off of Capitol Hill to be the Joint Government Affairs Director for ACSM and what was then ASP, or the American Society of Photogrammetry. And so I developed that program and then went on my own and started my own consulting firm, became the Executive Director of MAPS, the trade association of the private geospatial firms. I serve as the Administrator of COFPACE, the Council on Federal Procurement of Architectural and Engineering Services, of which NSPS is a member. So I have been involved in public policy issues affecting the surveying and mapping or geospatial profession for some 30 years now.
As I mentioned in my introduction, John, your company recently signed an agreement to serve as the legislative eyes and ears of the National Society of Professional Surveyors. What will be your overall objective on behalf of NSPS?
Well, our goal is to be not only the eyes and ears of the surveying profession on Capitol Hill and in federal agencies in Washington, but to be the voice of the profession. We want surveyors to be aware of policies and legislation and government activities that affect their profession. So we also want to give surveyors a voice so that they become involved in these policies and legislation so that their views are known and so that they can have an impact and influence the outcome so that it's to their benefit and the benefit of the clients that every surveyor serves.
It's no secret that surveyors in the United States do not feel that they have been as effective in having their voice heard in Washington as have other professions, such as engineers and architects. What do we need to do differently?
Well, there are two quotes that I like to use. First is I remember former Senator Al Simpson of Wyoming once said that you either take part or you get taken apart. And that really explains why you have to be involved. I think it was Woody Allen that said 90% of life is just showing up. Well, we need to get surveyors to show up. We need to make sure that surveyors are in the room and they're at the table and they're taking part in decision making. So whether it's being a member of NSPS, contributing to the NSPS PAC, communicating with their elected representatives, working with the Legislative Affairs Committee of NSPS, these are ways that every surveyor can be involved in their profession and in the government affairs activities of their profession.
John, we recognize that this is definitely a long-term project, not something that can change overnight. But in what areas do you predict that we can have a positive and quick impact?
Well, I've always been of the belief that little things can have a big impact. So our goal is not to have some big omnibus comprehensive surveying legislation before Congress, but I think it's much more realistic for us to have an amendment here, an amendment there, adding provisions to other bills where we're having a positive impact on the surveying profession and on the public and the clients that surveyors serve. Our goal is to protect public health, welfare, and safety, including property rights, and to enhance the surveyor's image. Something could be as simple as adding an as-built survey requirement for underground utilities. That would have an enormous positive impact on the public in America, but it would also create an extraordinary business opportunity for surveyors. There are certain classifications where surveying is not considered a STEM or science, technology, engineering, and math discipline. So if we can make sure that we get a little provision in to clarify that surveying is in fact a STEM discipline so that we're providing a means for young people to get into education programs to become surveyors, those are ways that you can make a small change that has a big impact.
In your company's work on behalf of the MAPS organization, the Management Association for Private Photogrammetric Surveyors, you always seem to stress the private sector component of MAPS members. How will this be similar or different in the work that you're going to do for NSPS?
Well, I think it'll be quite similar because a lot of what MAPS has done legislatively and in the public policy arena has been in the name of surveying and mapping, or the geospatial profession, which of course includes surveyors as well as photogrammetrists, GIS developers, and a variety of other disciplines that fall under that umbrella. So a lot of the work that MAPS has done has actually benefited the community as a whole, not just those in private practice. For example, we were successful in getting a geospatial management office created in the Department of Homeland Security after that department was established as an aftermath to 9/11. Well, the creation of that office pays dividends for our entire community, not just those in private practice. The other thing to keep in mind is more than 90% of NSPS members are in private practice. So while we're not going to be focusing exclusively on private practitioners, but rather as the community as a whole, we're going to try to bring benefit to all of the members, regardless of which sector in which they're employed.
John, since you're clearly not a newcomer to the challenges that are facing the surveying profession, what areas do you feel that NSPS can have the greatest impact on behalf of the profession?
I think to work the legislative process, to advocate for the importance of surveying in real property, in infrastructure and environmental programs, by making certain that decision makers have current and accurate surveying data when making policy decisions or conducting governmental transactions, that citizens have a survey to protect their property rights. These are things that NSPS can do that serves the public, creates business opportunities for surveyors, and enhances the image of surveyors as a professional and an essential part of the nation's economy. This will also make a career in surveying even more attractive for the next generation.
Excellent. John, how will you determine what areas of concern are of most importance to surveyors?
NSPS is embarking upon a very new program, and I've worked very closely with them, and we have a team that's working to make sure that NSPS is listening. We're going to do a market opinion poll. We're not going to call it a survey.
Thank you.
We're not going to create any confusion. But we're actually going out into the field with a questionnaire on public policy and legislative issues to find out what's on surveyors' minds, to listen to them, to gauge what's important. From that poll or questionnaire, we are going to develop a legislative strategy. We will give surveyors the ability and the opportunity to communicate with the NSPS leadership what's important to them, what their own priorities are. So NSPS members or surveyors at large, even if they're not members, should participate in this poll, talk to the NSPS leadership, talk to the Government Affairs Committee, make sure that their voice is heard, because it will become part of developing a strategy, a strategic plan, and a set of priorities for NSPS. So listening to members and prospective members is a big part of what NSPS is all about, and it's a big part of the 100% joint membership program between NSPS and the state societies. This strategic planning will focus the programs and activities of the society to make sure that they're responsive to the goals and desires and aspirations of the membership. So listening and then acting, those are the key parts of any membership organization, and they are going to be a key part of NSPS, and I'm just excited to be part of it.
John, that's very exciting. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Neil. Pleasure to be with you.